I'm going to show you how to reformat the Excel file into a workable document for pivot tables. So some things to keep in mind first. At the end of this process, you're going to want to end up with column A, which is dates, column B for paragraphs, column C for the actor names, and column H for state codes, and another two columns for the county code and the county name. So to start, I mean, it looks messy a little bit right now, getting all that text from Notepad. But the way we're going to format it is first working with states. So since there's an additional state over here, we're going to create an additional column right here. And we can just drag this, get rid of 27. And that's the concept. We want to collapse all the states into one column. So we want them vertical, not horizontal. Same thing for counties. So to close gaps, we can delete cells, but always, whenever you're doing that, make sure you're either shifting left or shifting right. If you shift the cells up or down, your numbers are going to be wrong. So same principle, right? You have the first one, and you want every other county to fall under that first county. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional columns. A shortcut to create additional rows or columns is you first select the row or column that you want to add on to, and you press Ctrl Shift plus. In this case, we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional rows. So we're going to do that 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Now you're going to copy the remaining counties until there are no more counties to copy. So you're pretty much copying the selection and pasting it under the previous county. Now, as you can see, I moved all the counties, and instead of them being horizontal, they now follow one single vertical line. And that means we can get rid of this. Like I said before, whenever you're getting rid of cells in this process, you want to make sure that you shift cells either to the left or to the right. And there you go. You have the presence of this group in these two states for these different counties. And the same principle applies for every other group and every other line. So here we can start by first calculating how many more cells or rows we're going to need. So we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 additional rows. So we're going to add them. I'm going to first take the state. We can get rid of this gap. Always shift cells left or right. Start working with the next counties. Paste them under. to make this more time efficient, you can use a few shortcuts. The first one is you press Ctrl Shift and the arrows, and that's going to select the whole text, all the cells that have content. So you can copy that with Ctrl C, you can paste it, Ctrl V, and you can move on to the next counties. Repeating the same process. Shift, Ctrl, arrow to the right, selects all the locations, copy that with Ctrl C, paste it with Ctrl V, and so on and so forth until we have no remaining counties to copy and paste. And like before, you can get rid of this. Always shifting cells to the left or to the right. And you can also, once you have that, you can drag this. You can first highlight the cells that you want to drag. You're gonna wait until the cursor, the mouse, the cross turns black. You click, you drag it down, you release, and you make sure that copy cells is selected. Otherwise, you're gonna have different numbers as if it were a series, but it's not a series. You're copying the same thing, so you want copy cells to be selected, and now it goes back to uniform numbers. Same thing for this. Make sure these are copy cells, and you can get rid of cells that you don't need. And the same concept applies for every other group. And when you're done, you should have more or less, well, you should have something like this. We have column A for dates, column B for paragraphs, column C for actors, column D for state codes, column E for county codes, column F for county names. I'm going to show you how to do pivot tables in a second. Alright. So like I showed you before, all we need is column A, column B, column C. We don't need column D. We don't need column, the same ones. We don't even, well, at the end, you can delete the state column. So all you're left with is column D for state codes, and columns E and F for county codes and county names. You're going to label this. Dates, paragraph, actor, state code, county code, county name, and you can highlight this to make it stand out, make it bold. This is what your final output should be like before starting the pivot tables. You have actors, state codes, county names. And you're going to open up a new sheet for your pivot tables. You're going to go to insert pivot tables. You're going back to your previous sheet where you did your work. Select actor names. Make sure existing worksheet is selected. Click OK. Click an actor. Make sure that actor name is in the rows field, and also drag it to the values field. Next pivot table, same concept. but we're doing it for county names. Again, select the range, in this case F. Make sure existing worksheet is selected. Make sure county click and county name is selected, and drag it to values as well. The final pivot table is going to be a little bit different. In the first select range C, you can extend that range all the way to county names, such as that you have column C and F in this field. You're going to click OK. Active names are going to be in the rows. County names are going to be both column and values. Now that you have your pivot tables, you can start creating charts. You're going to go to your pivot table, click on recommended charts, click on cluster column, click OK. For your second table, you can do the same thing. For the third table, you're going to create a different recommended chart. So we're not using the clustered, we're using the stacked column. And these are your pivot tables with the corresponding graphs. For your paper, you can look at the different groups, the frequency of their presence given by the numbers, and then you can also look at the violence or crime in the different states. You can also look at the distribution by locations. So for example, these two groups are fairly represented or fairly active or equally active in these 6 counties. Now that is the information you're going to use for your paper, aside with other stuff. Please refer to the assignment sheet. One last thing before we go, make sure that blank is not selected. Make sure you click on these in county names and actor names. Make sure that blank is not selected. There you go. Pivot tables with graphs.